The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
It began as a blended family vacation aboard the Carnival Horizon, a dream Caribbean cruise for Florida teenager, cheerleader Anna Keaptainner. But days into the voyage, the 18-year-old vanished, only to be found dead, her body concealed beneath a bed in her cabin. The FBI has since taken over the investigation and is examining all the troubling clues, while courtroom testimony has implicated her 16-year-old stepbrother as a potential suspect. As authorities work to unravel what happened in international waters, loved ones are left asking how a joyous trip turned into a fatal mystery. And tonight, her stepmother back in court fighting for custody, and we have the latest. Meanwhile, across the Northeast, an entire university community was shaken when gunshots rang out on the campus of Brown University, triggering a massive manhunt. Students were forced into lockdown, law enforcement mobilized, and families watched anxiously as police scoured buildings and green spaces. Two bright young lives taken, but still tonight, everyone is asking, who is this killer? Tonight, we are live from Providence, Rhode Island with the latest. But first, in Los Angeles, shock rippled through Hollywood when acclaimed filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele Reiner, were found stabbed to death in their Brentwood home. The couple's daughter discovering their bodies Sunday afternoon. Within hours, police arrested their son, Nick Reiner, 32 years old, who now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances in the deaths of his parents. Once celebrated for classics like When Harry Met Sally, Reiner's life came to a tragic, violent end, and authorities continued to build their case amid grief, questions, and a stunned entertainment world. And tonight we are live from LA as the accused killer makes his first appearance inside a courtroom. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We have a full hour ahead in the world of true crime. But I want to begin by reminding you about the biggest trial from 2025 involving an accused murderer named Karen Reed, who was found not guilty. Anytime I hear those words in a courtroom, I'm surprised because, you know, prosecutors choose the cases that they want to bring. And generally, as a prosecutor, you don't bring cases you don't think that you have the evidence to win and win handily. But in this case, we all experienced what happened, and Karen Reed walked out of the courthouse a free woman. And she's now moving on in her life. She's got some civil cases that she's dealing with. But really, big, big headline, not guilty in a murder trial. Now, one reason why a lot of people believe that she walked out of that courthouse was because of her attorney, Alan Jackson, who folks who've been watching court TV for decades should know Alan Jackson very well, because at one point he was a prosecutor. Then he became a defense attorney, and now he has seen a lot of success in cases that you've seen here on court TV, and some cases that we started to follow that just disappeared. Like the Kevin Spacey case. What happened to that? Poof, it was gone. There wasn't even a trial. That was Alan Jackson. Karen Reed, that was Alan Jackson. And now he's been brought into a much different case, the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele. He's representing the son. So you're in Hollywood, high-profile case in LA. You want the best of the best, right? And who's dealing the hot hand right now? It's Alan Jackson. And Los Angeles is his home base. These are the jurors that he's been in front of for decades, mostly as a prosecutor. But now, again, as a defense attorney, does some civil work as well. But this is like a home match for Alan Jackson. The question is, though, are we really going to see a not guilty in this one? Is that even possible? We'll see. We'll see. Some people may have said that at the beginning of the Karen Reed trial. Okay, yeah, there's a woman, she's behind the wheel, she's been drinking, guys run over, there's a broken tail light. There's not going to be a not guilty. So what's this case going to be about? What angle is Alan Jackson going to take? Those are all the issues that right now I'm thinking about as this case makes its way inside of a courtroom. And today was day one, the first hearing for the defendant, Nick Reiner, accused double murderer with charges that could bring a death penalty. Let's take a look at today's hearing.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, along with Caleb Mason and Elizabeth Little, and Richmond Jackson, went on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who's currently present in court in custody. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. He'll be bailing for the people. Jonathan, for the people at home.
Thank you. And counsel, how would you like to proceed today?
Your Honor, if we could, I would like to ask for a continuance of the arraignment. I want to get it clear at this juncture. It's too early. We've coordinated with counsel from the DA's office, and January 7th, with the court's permission, will be a convenient date for us to come back for potential arraignment.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a waiver, speedy arraignment waiver from your client.
Thank you.
Mr. Reiner, do you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment? Your counsel is requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7, 2026. Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment can be heard on January 7, 2026? And does counsel join in the waiver?
I join, Your Honor.
The court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that is counsel joins in that waiver. Letter set January 7, 2026 for arraignment in this department. Bail to stand at no bail. Anything further on that case?
Not by the defense, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick hearing, continuance, January 7th will be the next date for all of that. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas was at the courthouse and is in L.A. tonight, joining us once again. Cody, great to see you. We just watched the hearing. It went by fast, I get it, but we did not see Nick Reiner. Was he there?
Well, yeah, Vinnie, Nick Reiner was in court, but sitting behind this glass panel. It was hard to see him, even for us there, sitting in the gallery. And we also were not allowed to, as media, to take still images or video him on camera whatsoever due to a judge's order. But, Vinnie, what we do have are court sketches. So let's take a look at some of those right now. In those sketches, you can see Nick Reiner wearing one of those suicide prevention vests, sitting behind that glass panel near his attorney, none other, of course, than Alan Jackson, no stranger to us here at Court TV. And, of course, Alan Jackson is the one who asked for that continuance of this arraignment to January 7th of next year. And, of course, we heard Nick Reiner briefly speak, saying, yes, Your Honor, agreeing to waiving his right to that speedy arraignment. So we will see him back in court, Vinnie, here in a few weeks, January 7th of next year.
All right, so any action outside of the courthouse today?
Yeah, Vinnie, you know, Alan Jackson is no stranger to cameras either. He came out and spoke briefly to us here with the media, pretty much reiterating that this trial or this case is very complex and he doesn't want to leave any stone unturned, saying that it needs to be thoroughly looked at in order for justice to prevail. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. They need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward. Not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was the continuance of an arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
So, Vinnie, a little different vibe from Alan Jackson than we saw up there in Massachusetts with Karen Reed, where he was passionately proclaiming his client's innocence on the steps of that courthouse up there in Dedham, Massachusetts. But, Vinnie, what we also have here is video obtained by News Nation as well, showing Alan Jackson and another attorney outside of Robynn Michele Reiner's home in Brentwood, going into the gate, then coming back out. And, Vinnie, I was out there a couple days ago in Brentwood. I did learn Monday that legal counsel was inside the home while the other children and family members mourned at Cedars-Sinai Hospital nearby. And, of course, that was Monday. That was before we knew Alan Jackson was representing Nick Reiner. So we'll see what kind of impact Alan Jackson has on this case. Of course, representing Karen Reed, representing Harvey Weinstein, representing Kevin Spacey. No doubt they'll have some sort of impact as this case here unfolds for Nick Reiner.
Absolutely. Are we learning any new information about what happened?
Well, Vinnie, we also have another video, again, obtained by News Nation, new video of Nick Reiner walking through a gas station parking lot after the murders that he is now accused of. It's eerie seeing it, Vinnie, knowing what we know now, that he's, accused of these murders of his mother and father. And, Vinnie, we're also learning that the L.A. County medical examiner has confirmed the cause and manner of death for both Rob and Michele Reiner, the cause for both being multiple sharp force injuries, both manners of death, homicides. And, Vinnie, that video of Nick Reiner walking through the gas station, that is actually from the New York Post, not News Nation, showing him walking through that gas station parking lot. Again, it's very eerie, knowing what we know now about what he's accused of, stabbing both of his parents to death, Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner, in their home in Brentwood. We know that their bodies were found by their daughter, Romy. Just a very sad situation, a tragic situation all around, Vinnie. And I was at the press conference with DA Nathan Hochman. He did not specify where inside that Brentwood residence that those bodies were found. But again, they were found in their home by their daughter, Romy.
All right. Cody Thomas in L.A. in the middle of it all. Thank you so much, Cody. Appreciate it. All right, folks, let's bring in our think tank live in studio tonight. Criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County, former assistant DA in Atlanta, actor also. Daryl Cohen with us. Also joining us, criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and criminal defense investigator Charles Middlestad. Great to see everyone tonight. Let's start here, the words of Alan Jackson himself. Complex and serious issues. What does he mean?
He means there's a mental problem that the defendant has that they're going to go through. Look, the seriousness of this case can never be stated enough. The horrendous facts that surround the murder of his two parents, by him, obviously. But he has the right to counsel. He has the right, if he has...
That's not just a right. He's got the right counsel.
Well, he may or may not have the right counsel. We'll see how it works out. But he's got a great counsel. But he's going to have to go through mental stability situations. Are going to examine him, and he's got a long way to go before this case ends up. My prediction is he's going to enter a plea of guilty to murder without parole.
Wow.
They're not going to go for the death penalty.
Really? That's what it's going to be all about.
Wow.
Charles, you get this case. You're told to investigate it. What are you investigating?
Well, we don't know what we don't know presently, but what I think is likely to occur, and what he means by complicated, is that this likely is going to come down to a lot of mitigation. And so my role in this case would largely be investigating the background and building that mitigation case towards the possibility that they would seek the death penalty. And I think the complicated comment has to do with the fact that it's complicated just because it's familial, and that you may have siblings, relatives who have some compassion towards him and would not want him to receive the death penalty because he's mentally ill, and they would want to, certainly hold him accountable and responsible, but not with the ultimate punishment. And so that mitigation goes a long way towards achieving that, I think. And I think that's going to be a big focus of Jackson's defense, is sort of building that part of the case.
He went to the house already. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in the house? I mean, that's the crime scene, right? We know two people were killed, so it's a crime scene. It wasn't suicide. It wasn't suicide.
I have a strong suspicion that it's a horrible scene. A very awful scene, because stabbing, blood, 2 people. I mean, I can only imagine how horrible it was. And I have a feeling what Mr. Jackson's speaking about, too, is stabilizing him from whatever psychotic break, whatever overdose of drugs, whatever, we don't know. I'm just pontificating here, but whatever.
You looked okay walking through the gas station, though.
I liked what Court TV wrote there, eerie. That was very eerie, watching him walk.
But that's
eerie.
the mental health aspect of it, right? That he may not have necessarily been under the influence of drugs. If he has some sort of mental health issue, he's going to walk like you and I. You're not going to see that in a walk. It's going on inside of his head, and we can't see that. And that's the problem, is if anybody could have seen it, it could have been prevented, right?
Now, some of the reports are he checked into a motel. There was a lot of blood at the motel. He put like a sheet over the window of the motel. What does that tell you, Daryl?
It tells me he knew what he did was wrong. He knew that he was going to be caught at some point, and he was trying to mitigate immediately by covering up as opposed to being open and notorious.
Does anyone think this will be the trial will be about who did it?
No, it won't be about that, but I have a theory, too, of having done a lot of drug trafficking cases of clients who've done way too much meth, way too much heroin, way too much cocaine, fill in the blank drugs. You got mental illness and then drugs mixed together. He might have been hitting just a massive heightened paranoia that had nothing to do with the law enforcement coming to him. It could have been voices, could have been gosh knows what, and that might have been why he was in the hotel or motel with the sheets.
Now, there's also a lot of talk about what happened before. Like earlier that night, they were at Conan O'Brien's for this A-lister Christmas party, and he's allegedly approaching people asking bizarre questions like, are you famous? To like really famous people, getting into some sort of a riff with the celebrity, a riff with his parents at the party.
It's mental illness.
Yeah, it's been reported he had an argument with his dad.
Right. Are these all witnesses that are going to come in now?
No.
I think that's a possibility.
Potentially, yeah.
But I also think that we're not going to have, ultimately, there will not be a trial.
There's going to be a trial, Daryl.
No, I think the death penalty will be taken off, like Daryl said.
I don't think he's going to seek death. I don't think he seeks death. All right. They're staying with us. When we come back, Brown University suspect is still at large. We are live in Providence. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a Georgia community shaken. A teenage girl accused of murdering her own mother and stepfather, then grieving very publicly on social media. What really happened inside this Carroll County home? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
The second person that you want to talk to, can you drill down at all on any interactions that you believe you may have had with the main person of interest? Do you believe he talked to him? How close was he to him? Any interactions? What can you tell me?
So yeah, we have video footage of that determines to us and the detectives that can tell that this person was in the vicinity where the subject of interest was that we wanted that we actually have an interest on. Close enough that we feel that we need to speak with them to find out because videos don't speak. If you think about it, I wish the video could speak, and then I'll have the answers that we need to, so that we can continue on this investigation. So we're trying to find out exactly what it is, and that's why we need to speak with them. Please.
Does this person, this new individual, have anything to do with why the person of interest was seen running in the surveillance footage?
Again, I wish the videos could speak. We're trying to get those answers.
New development in Brown University in the search for a killer. This is a second person that police have identified that they want to speak to. They don't know the person's name. They're not saying this person is involved, but this person is in the vicinity of the person of interest. All right, take a look. If you're anywhere in Rhode Island or anywhere, do you recognize this person? Who is it? Make the call, please, someone. How could the person not recognize themselves and make the call immediately? This person obviously has some connection to Providence, Rhode Island. There's no bigger story happening right now. It's all over social media. It's all over the news. It is everywhere. This person has to know someone, yet we haven't heard any word about this person contacting police. They want to speak with this person. Let's take a listen to more from the chief, Chief Perez.
released a video from 216 on the day of the shooting where we see the person of interest come into contact or near another person. Is that the moment that you think this new person and the person of interest might have come close?
That's correct. They're around the area of Benevolent and Cook.
So behind the Rhode Island Historical Society, that corner of George?
Right near that area, correct.
Right behind the Rhode Island Historical Society. That's where we saw that video of the person they're looking for, kind of strolling back and forth, putting the hands behind the back, almost like they're waiting for someone. At least that's what I saw when I looked at that video. All right, let me show you this video from 216. You're going to see a red circle, you're going to see a green circle. Red circle is this second person whose face you just saw. The green circle is the person they're looking for. So there you see green, oh, here comes red, and green sees red, and green starts to run pretty quickly. Watch the feet under the bushes, seemingly running away or stopping, and now we have to wait for red to round the corner. Red is not running, green ran. Here comes red, and now red, keep your eye on the bushes, you can see the feet, and there goes red, same direction as green. What's going on here? What is going on? Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, join us live from Providence, Rhode Island tonight. Matt, this is eye-opening video. It's interesting. It's it's a little confusing as well. But what else did you learn from today's big press conference?
Big press conference and a big bombshell today, learning that there's a second person that the police want to interview after some sort of interaction or possibly clues that this person holds for the person of interest, otherwise known to many people as the suspect in this deadly shooting here at Brown University. We're also learning that police, there are 9 agencies involved, a lot of FBI that we see around the crime scene here. But they are expanding their search and their grid in the area, not just here on campus, but blocks and blocks away, where the suspect was seen before and after the shooting. And they're also looking at a lot of videos that show the suspect wearing a satchel of some sort. In some videos he's wearing it, in some he's not. Is it under his jacket? What's inside? Could it be a weapon? Authorities are still trying to piece that together. And we're learning more about the crime scene, the engineering building here at Brown University. We are learning that there were no cameras that caught the interaction of this defendant or this suspect and the victims. Didn't capture the shooting. There was no cameras there. There was also no security inside this building. The doors were unlocked. And we also don't really have a manifest. We don't have a list of names of people that would have been in that classroom. And here's why.
Can you now say how many kids were in that classroom? And did the gunman come in from the back so these people never knew it was coming? Or did he come in front with full view of everybody?
And that's all part of the interviews, and actually we're cooperating with Brown to get the roster. That was a study hall, so we don't have the number. We're still getting information as far as who was there. I know Brown sent out an email to the students to notify us if they were present, and we're still getting that, so I can't give you an exact account now. Okay.
Also very interesting, we're still learning that the eyewitnesses, they all have not been interviewed. Police are still in the process of interviewing eyewitnesses, people that were in this building here behind me, including some of the victims. At least 5 victims remain hospitalized at this hour on Wednesday, Vinny.
This is completely shocking tonight. Absolutely shocking, Matt. All right, what's the reaction around campus tonight?
Yeah, the reaction on campus, a lot of people are concerned. They don't feel safe to be here. Classes have been canceled, so that eliminates that problem for a lot of students that were about to take exams, final exams. That's what this week was about. That's the reason why these victims were in this building behind me. They were in a study hall of sorts. Well, we were talking to a lot of people that wouldn't be here otherwise. They have left home early. There are a few stragglers. They're afraid to go on camera. You have a suspect still on the loose. I also interviewed a woman. Her name is Janet. She went to Brown University for her master's program, graduate studies, and here's what she told me.
I feel like this is sort of a loss of innocence in a lot lot of ways, in that people just don't know how to react. They don't know if they're safe. And took a chance today coming out because I wanted to bear witness and to see things for myself, and left some flowers over by the Van Wickle gates, and hoping that just being here will be part of the healing process.
Vinnie, there's 2 memorials on both sides of what is now a crime scene here on campus at Brown University. Hundreds of flowers being put down. There's notes, there's teddy bears, there's signs in all of the mom and pop shops that line the university here. Little downtown, it's very cute. And they say, stand behind Providence, we're with you, Brown, we love you. It's really heart-wrenching to be here, quite honestly. Everyone is heartbroken.
Yeah, this reminds me so much of the impact that the Idaho 4 killer had out in Moscow, a couple of years ago.
Yep.
How about the Attorney General? Attorney General was also there today?
Yeah, Attorney General with Providence, Rhode Island, and very defensive at times, or it appeared so. I don't know, I haven't interacted with him other than this case, but in answering questions at that news conference, really pointed questions by reporters, he was really getting into details about how AI images online that are circulating and also conspiracy theories are hurting their investigation. He made it seem like it's been a problem more so now in this investigation than in investigations past. So that's interesting. And he also was defensive about not releasing details about the type of gun that was used. Let's listen to some of his statements.
You mentioned a long gun. We are not in a position to say, unless the chief, you want to square it, whether this was a long gun or not. I think that there's been an account from the TA. There are multiple accounts about multiple things, including how this gunman approached the victims. Those are not details that advance the investigation. Why not? They don't advance the investigation because as we interview witnesses, we don't want them to learn facts from these press conferences. We want them to relay the facts that they have in their heads, including a person of interest. I don't want anyone to leave this room thinking that this weapon was a long gun, because that would be a misperception from what I know. You build a profile of your victims so you know who may have threatened them, what they may have said that might have caused somebody to react a certain way. So yeah, that work is ongoing in conjunction with all the other work we're doing. But from where I sit today, there's been no development of any evidence that suggests that that's what drove this shooter. That could change, but there's nothing that we have recovered or analyzed to date that suggests that it was specific person motivated. Again, could change, but we're 5 days out. That work is being done, and there is nothing that suggests that at this time.
Okay, so through the AG and that news conference, we really learned what we don't know yet in this investigation. We don't have a suspect. We don't know what type of gun was used. We don't know a motive in the case. We don't know the connection, if any, with the victims or why the suspect chose Brown University and that particular location. But what we do know is they confirmed that even though they're being thrown a lot of red herrings and conspiracy theories, they're following up on everything. They're still encouraging tips. It's helpful for them, and they're following up on more than 200 tips today. Vinny?
All right, Matt Johnson in Providence, Rhode Island, in the middle of it. Thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate it. Let's bring back in our live think tank in studio. Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Charles Middlestat. Okay, I've got a couple things here. 5 days out. We haven't spoken to the witnesses. We don't know who they are. We're waiting for a list from Brown. We sent an email. What?
Is so incompetent, you can't even articulate the incompetence. But I'll say this, once we find the who, we may be able to find the why.
Well, what kills me is I work at Georgia State, which is here in Atlanta, and it's a building that was built maybe 10, 15 years ago now. But there's cameras everywhere. in that building. So that's my experience, okay? And my class is actually video conferenced as well. Like, you can plug it in. So what kills me here is there's no video surveillance. Where's the flock camera? Where's the license plate readers? Where's the cameras everywhere? Where is the video anything? All we saw is what we got from Ring cameras.
Yeah.
That's jarring.
Charles, where are we in this investigation? I don't understand.
Well, I think there's a lot of things going on here from what I can tell. I've sensed some frustration. You have 9 different law enforcement agencies involved in this. That is, to have 2 or 3 different law enforcement agencies involved is already a lot. And so when you have 9, there's each hand is not speaking to the other. They're not shaking. There's overlap. There's territorial disputes. There's egos involved. Let's not forget that the FBI leadership flubbed this from the beginning and announced that they had their suspect and that, you know, everybody could rest easy, and that turned out not to be the case. And so with regard to this second person of interest, possibly the reason they haven't come forward yet is maybe they're getting legal counsel. Maybe they want a lawyer before they, just out of an abundance of caution, because they're scared. And they don't want to end up in the same circumstance that that original suspect or person of interest ended up with. Unfortunately, got cleared through DNA and realizing that there was no cell phone. They brought the FBI's CAS team in to do the phone analysis and surveys, and turns out this person left their phone off, and they found that suspicious. So there was no signal associated with that person. So I think there's a lot going on here, and I think it's a byproduct of so many law enforcement agencies involved, and perhaps not knowing who's going to be doing what. And
wouldn't one of the first things, like, speak to the people who witnessed the shooting?
100%.
Like, I'm like, wow. Are you surprised that tonight, that you said that person might not want to come forward, but that doesn't mean someone that knows that person wouldn't pick up the phone and say, hey, that's, you know, I don't know if it's a man or woman, I can't tell, but hey, that's so-and-so. Like, I know that person.
You would think so.
Social media always does that, too.
Yeah.
How many times we've had storylines where they're like, come on, social media, help us figure out who this is. And social media is really good
But the fact that that has not happened may indicate that they're not from that area, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely very possible as well. Nobody knows the person,
and also
right? They came to town to do this.
This characterization of there was some encounter between. We don't know that. We don't know that. We just.
Well, what we see in the video is, as the person who they want to talk to is walking up the street, as you can see it, watch. There he is. He's walking. He's facing that way. Sees that person and runs away from that person. That's weird.
Why would you run away? Because you see a weapon.
Well, look, I think there's an absolute legitimate reason to want to talk to that person, because they may be able to help with some additional identifying features. But maybe the other suspect, the main suspect, was running in the opposite direction because he didn't want to come cross paths with another potential witness. Right. So just ran away.
Trying to get away.
One observation.
All right.
One last observation.
We hear the music, though.
If we haven't had a wake-up call now after University of Georgia and Lincoln Riley, where are the cameras everywhere?
I agree. When we come back, Anna Keaptainner went on that cruise. She was killed on that cruise. Her stepmom back in court today. We'll talk about the latest.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
As the court is aware through the pleadings, there's a young lady who's passed away. That matter is still under investigation. That was not my client's child, but the stepchild of the mother in this case, and the remaining 16-year-old is now a suspect in that case.
Anna Keaptainner was 18 years old. She went on a cruise with her blended family. Part of that blended family is in the middle of a custody battle, and we're learning about what happened to her on the ship through some of the testimony and arguments that have been made during this custody battle. Let's go through the family tree so you understand who's who in this case, because it can get very confusing very quickly. We begin with Chris Keaptainner, okay? He was with a woman named Heather Wright. Chris and Heather had a daughter That's the victim in this case, Anna Keaptainner. Chris then married a second woman, his second wife, Tabitha. Tabitha and Chris had 2 children together. So those would be the half-siblings of Anna, but by blood. Tabitha and Chris had those 2 children together. Those 2 children were Anna's half-siblings. Chris then remarried a 3rd time to Chantel. Now, Chantel was previously married to Thomas Hudson. Chantel and Thomas had 3 children, okay? So when Chantel and Chris get together, it's kind of like a Brady Bunch situation. Those 3 children are Anna's step-siblings, including the 16-year-old who has been named in that custody hearing as a suspect in Anna's murder, okay? Chantel Keaptainner and her ex-husband, Thomas Hudson, are in the custody battle over another child, not the 16-year-old, but another one of their children. I want you to take a listen to some of the testimony of Chantel Keaptainner from a previous hearing, not today's hearing, but from a previous hearing, because at the previous hearing, there was some testimony about the 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna.
As far as the minor children, what were the sleeping arrangements on this cruise?
Brooke was in my room with my husband and his 9-year-old daughter, and then shared a room with his stepsister and stepbrother. The room was directly across from ours.
What was the stepsister's name?
Anna Keaptainner.
And what was the stepbrother's name?
Connor Keaptainner.
And how old is Connor?
14.
And how old was Anna?
18.
Now, who made the decision to have these 3 teenagers in one room in the cruise?
We had talked it over with our travel agent, and that was what was suggested.
At some point, did you discover that one of the children had passed away?
Yes.
And when was that you discovered that?
Friday morning.
When was the last time that you'd seen the child before that Friday morning?
Thursday night.
You know approximately what time?
Right around 6:30.
And your child, did you see him that Thursday night as well?
Yes.
What time did you see him at?
Closer to 7. Just a little bit before 7.
And what was he doing at that time?
He was headed back to his room.
Do you know whether or not Connor was present in the room as well?
They all were headed back to their room, as far as I know.
Did you return to your room that evening?
Yes.
What time did you return to your room?
7 o'clock.
Anna, who we know passed away, she was 18, correct?
Correct.
And she was an adult?
Correct.
And was she given the option of staying in another room?
All 3 of the kids were.
Okay. And would that room have been with Grandma and Grandpa?
Correct.
And they didn't want to do that?
No, they wanted to stay together.
Did they all get along?
Yeah, the 3 of them are like the 3 amigos. They're best friends.
Okay, so as we sit here tonight, still no arrest in this case. Why not?
I think they're waiting until they have so much forensic evidence that they're going to clamp the 16-year-old who is a person of interest / suspect who will soon be a defendant, in my view.
As an adult, charged as an adult. Maybe that's why they're waiting, to make sure that they have strict, because in Georgia, I can't speak Florida law, but in Georgia, you can decide to do juvenile or not. Most, it's called a SB 440 crime. Most of them immediately, by definition, go right up to Superior Court, meaning with the big boy courts, right? And so maybe they're making sure that it's crystal clear what occurred here, so they're waiting for the results, whatever results those are.
Like
so
probably toxicology at this point.
I would think so. And also, you know, keep in mind that it would be one thing if it was just the suspect and the decedent in the room, but there was another child in the room.
Yeah, so it's Anna, her blood half-brother, 14 years old, and her not blood-related, 16-year-old stepbrother. And the reporting that's coming out of this from family members who have spoken is that at some point, the 14-year-old, excuse me,
God bless,
was locked out of the room and allegedly heard noise inside. Now, if there's any truth to that, then, I mean, it's pretty obvious that at the time something happened. Because he left at some point, the 14-year-old left at some point to take pictures around the ship and then couldn't get back into the room, heard yelling. Anna is not seen by him, but is underneath her bed, pillows stuffed there, life vest stuffed there, sort of hidden underneath.
There's on cruise ships, just like anywhere else these days, there's tons of cameras.
Not anywhere else.
And while there may not have been may not have been a camera directly on the door of that that cabin, certainly at choke points, at stairwells. And
I think there was one in the hallway.
Yeah, hallway, and so determining access to that camera to that cabin should be something that's fairly simple. And obviously, if you can put the suspect in there at a certain point on his own, I mean, and see the movement of all three of these kids,
right,
including Anna.
Amigos. Why did the stepmom say that? That was jarring.
Well,
to me.
we've heard different things from different people. Some have said they're like 3 peas in a pod. We've also heard from her ex-boyfriend that no, there were some other things that were going on, and she did not like being around her stepbrother. So, and we don't know what the parents knew and what they didn't know, but we have some differing reports on that. And my guess is that there's also, the complicated investigation and autopsy, but also figuring out jurisdiction, federal, state, juvenile, adult. Thank you. Charles Middlestat, Meg Strickland, Darrell Cohen. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a family of faith torn apart by gunfire and a 17-year-old now facing life behind bars. Police say the evidence points straight to Sarah Grace Patrick, but could there be more to the story? Was this cold-blooded murder or a desperate act born from something darker? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And the verdict watch continues in the Maya Hernandez cosmetic filler child killer trial, charged with second-degree murder for the hot car death of her 1-year-old son. The jury sent out a note saying they couldn't agree to count 1, second-degree murder. That's a big deal. They will reconvene tomorrow and continue their deliberations. The judge sent them back. You know how that goes. Usually takes a few notes before there's a potential mistrial. We'll keep an eye on it for you folks right here on your front row seat to justice. Please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Cheyenne Dickinson, 17 years old, missing from Spring Creek, Nevada since December 10th. If you see Cheyenne, call the Elko County Sheriff's Department, or you can call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST, Elko County Sheriff in Nevada. Let's see if we can get Cheyenne to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.